Hi, welcome to the bathtub. You know me, it's the old masturbator, Scott Bradfield. This week I'm an errant masturbator. Oh, you want to come say hi? I would let you up, but I'm afraid you'll bite me. Would you like me to bite you up? Okay. Oh, you're so brave. Look at this transformation. So I've told, and there's Donna's upset. Do you remember we had this? I literally couldn't pick her up. So I thought she was going to attack me. We did a piece about this on Pointless Adventures. Poor old Lucky has had anxiety issues all her life. And we've, Dodo, I'm going to give you some of Lucky's medication in about 2 seconds. We put her on medication and even Prozac. And she's went through some ups and downs. And then we built the deck out back so she can go outside with me a little bit and not be so scared about going out the front door. And we've had like this almost transformation. We almost have our old dog back a little bit better than she was in the beginning. So I'm hoping a lot of people have asked how Lucky was. Lucky, you could stay here or you can get down. Would you like to sit up here for a while? Dodo? Shut up, please. Okay, this is the cacophonous edition of the bathtub. Anyway, we're trying to do an old theme show. You know, the bathtub is nothing if we don't have theme shows. And one of them is to read. You want to get down, Dodo? Okay, I'll help you down. Here you go. There you go. What a good dog. Are you the most brave dog I've ever seen? Sit. We even had the builders in to put a mirror in downstairs for Lucy after they finished the deck, and they trimmed the tree. And Lucky barked a few times, and she's... I don't know if it's the drugs. We've been doing all sorts of training. I'm no expert on any of this stuff. It's been real ups and downs because when she was on when we started the Prozac, she wouldn't eat anything, so we couldn't get her to take the pills, and so we still have a few flare-ups. But we've had... I'll be honest with you, bathers. I was in tears almost every day thinking we were going to have to put this stupid dog to sleep. She was so difficult. Such a good dog. And maybe we'll gear up for Puppy Noir pretty soon with the old puppy and the old Dodo. Okay, this is the reverse. This is our reading the novels of William Trevor and Brian Moran in reverse. It's an age-old formula for hit booktubing. Basically, I started it because I've read all of Brian Moore's books a million times and taught them many times. Maybe not a million, but somewhere in that vicinity. I have never before read most of William Trevor's novels. See, I have a Post-it note on the front. That's for our Excelsior swimming guy. All right, James? So make sure don't forget my Post-it notes to remind me to read something so that third person who might notice we're gone won't be worried. And I Am Mary Dunn. I've read all his books, and I've read them over and over. Love his books. Have never read most of these novels, so I'm reading them all backwards, just sequentially, just to mainly make sure I read all the Trevors, and then to kind of remind everybody how much I love Brian Moore. So I'm working my way backwards. Anyway, I'm going to start with the Brian Moore novel, I Am Mary Dunn, published in 1968. It was pretty successful for Brian, I think. It was a novel told in the point of view of a woman. What is she? Is she Irish? I think she's Irish. She's a little like Brian Moore, who was Irish, went to Canada, spends a lot of life in New York, so very similar to Brian. And he was sort of well known anyway. Well, one of his many talents is writing from women's points of view. There's lots of debate about men writing from women's points of view, but I love to see good writers write from women's points of view and vice versa, women writing from men's. And this is an odd book of his. I read all his books. I love all his books. This is the only novel of his besides maybe the Revolution script, which I had slightly mixed opinions about. I've read it 4 or 5 times before. I always had a little trouble getting through it. It's the most interior of Moore's novels, so it's almost entirely in Mary Dunn's point of view. The story, the central idea is I Am Mary Dunn is her first name. Her childhood name was Mary Dunn, but she's married 3 times. She goes through 3 very short, two terrible brief marriages, and then a third that fairly successful one near the end of it. And this is about a day in her life, from the morning till the evening, which is a difficult thing to pull off. None of this is common in Brian Moore's books. He's much more exterior writer. He does all the stuff I love, which is sort of point of view. We're inside the person's character, and we see all the world through their points of view. But reflective, and we're not thinking all the time. And this is a very reflective first-person novel. So it goes in and out of her thoughts and her memories, and we pop around a lot during the course of this day through her various marriages and through her anxieties. And it's her day, her period is about to start. So she's just up and down, anxiety-wise. She's a fairly young, attractive woman in her 30s, I think, late 30s. And she's married to a playwright, and her previous husband was a journalist. And before that, I was just some young kid. She ran away when she was very young. Anyway, this time I hadn't read it in a long time. I know most of Brian Moore's books inside out, so I enjoy reading them. But for me, this one, I had never paid it proper attention. Maybe I was a little impatient with it. I loved reading it this time. So anyway, I just really, it was so great to be back in the world of one of my favorite writers. And just about the day of this woman going through it, seeing some old friends, seeing people, having some fairly dramatic moments. It's a very nondescript day in many ways, but one in which we really feel like we reach a really kind of beautiful moment in this woman's life. It's a very positive book, I think, in many ways. Like most, I think Moore's books are generally sort of positive. It can be dark endings, but they're pretty positive about life and the pleasures of life. Anyway, I'll read a very brief passage. This is from when they're in Canada, when they run away from marriage. Dodo, I'm going to have to shut you up. When they run away, they're young teenagers, and they go live with an old couple who treat them like they're foster kids. And it's just the kind of a little picture, a little snapshot of an evening with this old couple. God's own country, kids, Harry bawls. God's own bloody country. We giggle. Get up them stairs, Harry orders, smacking his wife's bottom. This type of character, right? She turns to us, woe begone. He always wants that, she says. Again we giggle. Harry gives us one of his large double entendre, but he calls it double entendre winks, then lumbers upstairs after her, old and heavy in his darned brown cardigan and floppy, mud-colored slacks. Moore's just got this beautiful eye and for dramatic moments of what we see and how we see that character literally within the first couple sentences of meeting him. Later, under the covers in our back bed sitting room, Jimmy and I clutch each other, repeating these catchphrases, re-triggering our giggles. These are teenagers away from home for the first time. Our minds are full of Blodgett lore. The names of the people are the Blodgetts. We can close our eyes and see Harry in his favorite nook, scrunched down in his old cretin-covered armchair, the chair planted foursquare in the bay window of his front parlor, his back to Gerrard Street. A case of Labatt's India Pale Ale on the floor, within reach of his right hand, the wreckage of the Toronto Star and the Toronto Telegram strewn about his slippered feet. He has not moved out all weekend. Across the room, the television flitters fitfully. Mother rises to adjust the rabbit ears. Harry talks. He talks. From time to time, like a blind man, he gropes for and finds a new quart bottle of ale, reaches up to the wall bottle opener without taking his eyes off the TV set, strikes the cap off, brings the foaming bottle top neatly to his lips. No drop is spilled. There's a much longer, more experiential paragraphs for Moore, and it's just a lovely book. If you're in the right mood for it, I was so happy to cut it. It was kind of almost like reading him again for the first time, and I enjoyed it. It must be the fifth or sixth time I read it. The one we're at with William Trevor is Children of DYNMOUth. And this is very interesting for me. This is 1976. I kind of say the same things over and over about all of the same thing. Everything I say is the same things over and over. Pure mountain water, no pixels. Pure unpixelated mountain water and the cruel light of day. That's another thing you can count on from us. Children of DYNMOUth. It's must be his fifth or seventh novel, and he's mainly a short story writer. He wrote a novel and then a short story collection, pretty much alternatively throughout his long career. He's one of the greatest short story writers of the past century, and any short story you read of his or any collection of short stories you will enjoy. The novels are all good. I have enjoyed reading them, and I'm really enjoying working my way back. But as I've said before, he doesn't have the instincts for a novel the way Moore does. That's why it's kind of fun reading them together. Moore wrote some short stories. They were good, but not nowhere near what he does with a novel. And Trevor, his novels tend to drag on a little bit, and they kind of get one idea and they drag on a little further, and they lose a little energy for me over the course of it. But this is one of my favorites. The Children of DYNMOUth is it's a small little beach, seaside village where everybody sort of knows each other, and it's about the children's view of the world in the town, and the children's views of the adults. So it's told from these three principal characters. One who's kind of an older boy, I think his name's Gedge, who's basically this lost teenager who wanders around looking for people to talk to and be friends with, and he's kind of he's like a teenage version of Judith Hearn. You see him coming and you want to go the other way, get the hell away from this kid. He's really annoying and he's kind of insinuating. He's always saying, kind of trying to wink, wink, nudge, nudge type jokes. And he's always claiming he's seen things happen in this village. For example, that he's seen some man behaving inappropriately with a child, or seen couples and what they're doing with other couples. And he talks about these two children whose parents have married, and he starts talking about their parents and that the father might have killed the mother, his previous wife. He says all sorts of things, and all through the course of the book, you're basically in the point of view of this kid and the people who have to see him coming, and then the other kids who find him so disturbing. And I can't really say too much more than that. He's always claiming he's seen in people's windows, and again, it is sort of the first half of it just really brilliant, really absorbing. A little Midwich Cuckoos, a little bit of that kind of evil child. But Trevor rarely goes that route all the way, so he never becomes a murderer. It's not the bad seed, but it's close to the bad seed. Anyway, I loved it. I'm going to read one really quick passage here, which is told the point of view. He can do everybody. He talks about one of the older guys called the Commodore. There's an old couple who are like in their 60s that never had sex. And one of them is because of the guy. The guy's obviously more interested in young children. Anyway, this is a description of how he used to behave towards kids in the neighborhood. When the boy had first come to the house, he'd been more of a child and had naturally been treated as a child. Once or twice, when gesturing him into the dining room for supper, he'd laid a hand on his shoulder. Once or twice, while the boy was squatting on the floor polishing the linoleum surround, he had playfully touched his head, as in passing one might pat the head of a dog. There was a game they'd played a few times when Edith was out of the house, a rough and tumble sort of thing, perfectly harmless. There was Blind Man's Bluff, and a thing called Find the Penny, in which he himself stood like a statue in the center of the sitting room, while the boy searched him all over, rifling through his pockets for a hidden coin. A perfectly harmless little game it was, and it afforded both of them amusement. Naturally enough, they hadn't played it since the boy had entered adolescence. He can sort of see that kind of double-edged vision of watching a horrible person watch himself, and help us see them while they see themselves, and so forth. He does it all the time. That's one of the darker sections of the book. It's not a dark book, I wouldn't say. It's not about molestation or anything like that, but it's about all the secrets in this little town. Really good book. Kind of it's not mentioned as much with Trevor, but that's why I'm reading backwards, because I want to get a chance to read everything Trevor wrote in his novels, and then get back to his short stories. Sorry I've been late. I've been away. Did I tell you why? We had the builders in. We had the builders building a deck, which has really helped us with Lucky, too, because we have a little place to take her outside. So she's having a much better time for those who've been worried. Lucy and I have been worried sick. More soon. Bye.